TBQ, tell us what you think about our last one. Can the British High Street be saved? Yeah, high street shops like Mothercare and M&S up and down the land seem to be in deep trouble because we, the customers, have discovered how much simpler and cheaper it is to buy so many things online. And the knock-on effect is that enterprises that flourish, where people gather like restaurants, are also in deep trouble. The Carluccio's and Jamie's Italian chains are just two that are having to retrench. But town centres need to be thriving, bustling places to attract people to spend their hard-earned cash there. Town halls need the business rates that shops, restaurants and cafes pay to balance the land seem to be in indeed. You can shops like Mothercare and what you think about our last one. Can the British High Street be saved? Leave it. Up. Okay. TBQ, tell us what you think about our last one. Can the British High Street be saved? Yeah, high street shops like Mothercare and M&S up and down the land seem to be in deep trouble because we, the customers, have discovered how much simpler and cheaper it is to buy so many things online. And the knock-on effect is that enterprises that flourish, where people gather like restaurants, are also in deep trouble. The Carluccio's and Jamie's Italian chains are just two that are having to retrench. But town centres need to be thriving, bustling places to attract people to spend their hard-earned cash there. Town halls need the business rates that shops, restaurants and cafes pay to balance their own hard-pressed budgets. Can the British High Street be saved? So here we are, Joe. Where are you, Joe? There you are, Joe Gladstone. What is it going to look like, the High Street, in 10 years' time? Paint a picture of utopia or dystopia, you choose.
I think we're just starting to see the very first signs of what the future High Street will look like. And it's going to look like vast retrenchment. So many of these big brands that we know today are going to fail.
What's going to be there? What's going to be in there?
Well, there will be experiences. There will be lots more opportunities. So, yeah, there's going to be more coffee shops. There's going to be more stuff that you go and do, not stuff that you go and buy.
What's an experience?
Anything that's social, anything that involves other people. But the point is that...
Shopping.
Well, shopping doesn't have to be social. Shopping can be done much more effectively online in most cases, and that's what people are doing. And part of the problem is that we keep hearing about how bad this is, but the reality is that there's lots of good stuff that is coming from this. Like, there's this concept called the long tail, that, you know, Amazon sells tens of millions of books online that could never fit inside a store. And so in the same way that your ability to find something that actually matches your preferences that you want is so much more increased, and you can't have that in this old-style 20th century, you know, 10 same shops.
You go in there, you can touch and you can browse. You can shoot the breeze. You can shoot the browse. You can touch. You can lift it. That's why I like bookshops. That's why I like music shops. I can download all this. I like CDs. I like picking them up. Isn't that the case, Alex? Absolutely, sir.
So firstly, Nikki, this is an important debate that impacts us all. The success or failure of the high street has a bigger context.
It's a moral heart, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if we look at the high street, we have 500,000, give or take, high street outlets. Over half of those are run by independent business owners. So there are hundreds of thousands of livelihoods, not just jobs at stake. If we look at the high street on another level, the high street has driven lots of the gentrification of areas up and down the country. It impacts the value of residential properties. It's one of the reasons we want to live in certain places and not others. Then we look at it on a different level. The high street feeds a vast interconnected network of supplier industries. It fuels the local economy.
So the death of the high street has dire consequences, does it?
Dire consequences. And ultimately, like you said, Nikki, it's a hub for our local communities to interact. Do we want to live in a world where we live behind our screens, a world of boarded-up ghost towns, a world of lookalikes, where every single high street looks the same? This is not a world that we want to live into, and it's not just a shift of value from businesses who sell on the high street to big online businesses who fulfill demand from out-of-town warehouses. It impacts us all.
It's tumbleweed blowing through Main Street, isn't it? That's what you're talking about.
The reality is it's inevitable. So either
it's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. Is it inevitable?
Well, we talk a lot to consumers and say, how do you want to shop? And a large percentage of consumers still want to shop on the high street. They want convenience, they want fun, they want a good variety of shops, and they want customer service. So I do think the number of shopping outlets will reduce over time, but maybe if we consolidate on the favoured high streets and invest in what the consumer wants, you know, whether that is using technology or whether experience, so you see people putting beauty bars into fashion outlets, so that we do more to really entertain people and get them together on the high street.
Do you mind if I just pick up on one point
By all
there
means.
as well? So the term inevitable. So we look at the biggest online retailers in the world. Central to their strategy today is the high street. Amazon's biggest strategic move in retail over recent years has been to buy Whole Foods. You look at some of the most successful online marketplace and platform businesses globally, they were built from the ground up by leveraging the high streets, whether that's Rakuten in Japan, Alibaba in China. You look at the scale of businesses like ASOS, Bonobos, you look at businesses like Misguided, online successful businesses centrally have high street in their long-term strategies. eBay partners with Argos
And Andy,
to
is that the
enable
case?
click and collect.
Well, yes. I mean, the fact that people like Amazon, the very biggest around, that they'll look into physical, they want stores, should tell you that absolutely there's a place for this. But I think what we're talking about here is the actual high street as a location, right? As opposed to other physical locations such as a shopping centre. Now, the issue is with high streets, because high streets are not getting the level of footfall that they used to get. Shopping centres are not quite the same, because a shopping centre is doing something different. It's kind of a day out. It's an experience. You go there, you go to the cinema, you go bowling. There's all kind of restaurants and stuff. You mentioned the key term there, I think, which is community. That's kind of what a high street's supposed to do. I don't really go to a local high street very often, and think this is massively about community. This place is really bringing community together. I just don't think they do that. And if they're going to reinvent themselves and they have to base themselves around that community, that's not a retail issue. That's a sort of social issue, if you like. We've all got to do our part to make it a place that you actually want to go to.
Yeah, Alex?
So, yeah,
How do we do that? The
so-
experience?
So we have to firstly create the conditions for success on the high street. So we have to make it possible for businesses to survive and thrive on the high street of the future. And that includes enabling local businesses to have the tools, the skills, the insight and the support they need to succeed, yes. But we have to also look at consumer relevance. So merging the
Could you be a
benefits
bit
of
more
online
specific?
and local. So I do very much agree that the high street has to move. Product, retail, services, experience have to think of themselves much more like theatre. So basically on an individual local business basis, when you go in there, you need to want to go in there beyond just the immediate transaction. When you go to a high street, you have to want to feel that there is.
So, right, let's take it. You go
Local
into M&S,
events.
you need a couple of T-shirts and some briefs.
Yeah.
You go in there, what happens? What's the experience on the way to the pants?
But you've also...
What's
But,
going on? Flashing lights?
Well, M&S has big stores, so they can use the stores, maybe in the beauty area, to have a product demonstration so that you go to. So there's a lot of
That
other
happens in
things
Debenhams and
you
House of
can
Fraser
do
anyway.
In the stores. Well, that's what's encouraging people to the stores, where there's more going on, they can educate themselves, they can get advice. So that's how the stores
Advice
are having
about
to
what?
Well, advice about what they might want to wear, advice about what they want to put on their skin, and also other things like beauty. You might get your hair cut while you're there. So it's actually just creating more of a pull to a certain area by having more services.
Yeah.
And I mean, one way you can do that, of course, is through pop-ups. So we see a lot more pop-ups used these days, and I think the experience point really is
Temporary shops.
temporary. Yeah. So
Yeah.
someone moves in for 2 weeks and then they kind of move out again.
Yeah.
And that really is looking at store as more of as like a marketing campaign, if you like. You're not expecting people to come in, leave with arms full of goods necessarily. They're coming in to interact, to engage with you and all that sort of stuff. A retailer having face-to-face contact with their customers is very, very attractive to them. But you've got to have reasons to get them in there. And doing, with social media and things like that, you can do these campaigns very quickly, very effectively,
Go on, Joe.
generate buzz.
But are we talking about 5 years' time, 10 years' time, or 50 years' time? Like, the reality is that the high street of today is not going to exist at some point in the future. It's uncertain future. We don't know when.
Walk us down the high street in 50 years, right? You look to the left, what do you see? You look You look to the left, what do you see?
It's going to look
You look to
nothing
the
like
right,
it
what do
does
you
today.
see?
Like, autonomous cars are going to come. We're going to be able to move long distances without the same kind of search costs we have now, where looking for stuff currently takes a lot of effort and time and energy. In the future, that's going to all transform.
Where do we get a cup of coffee?
We might still go and have a cup of coffee close by to see people, but we're not going to go and shop for clothes. We're not going to go and buy stuff that's commoditized that we can buy online at much cheaper rates, much more efficiently.
What do you want to try it on, though?
Deliveries are going to come to us within the hour. You can hand them back to whoever gives them to you. Things are going to change rapidly, and I don't think that we're really ready for that.
So
What,
I
is
think,
it going to be
I think we
gridlock?
need to embrace the fact this is the most transformational period in the history of the high street. And that's not a bad thing for the high street. But the high street dying is not the inevitable next step. If we look at things like convenience, well, the high street can serve local demand more efficiently than warehouses out of town. All it needs is real-time view of inventory and courier networks connecting the demand and the supply from high street shops to consumers. When we think about, commoditized goods, well, not all goods are commoditized.
How much intervention
There's a hell of a lot of stuff that you want to go and speak to a human being about.
Intervention do you think is needed? Maybe taxing online more to pay for the necessary continuance and conservation and preservation of the high street? Do you think there needs to be a rebalancing there?
So that
people in
Save
town?
the High Street Dogs are a coordinated industry-wide initiative. So it's all about
Rates?
recognising that everybody has a role to play here. The property sector, media, local government, central government, industry innovators, large businesses, big business, small businesses. We all have a bit of a role to play here. And there is definitely in this time of significant change, we need to take a proactive stance on creating the conditions for success.
Well,
now, some of those are about levelling the playing field.
Yeah, there's a link, of course, between rates and social care and all sorts of other issues as well, Joe. So what about, you paint quite a vision of what's going to happen. What about those people who work in some of the stores at the moment, some of the stores looking over their shoulders and worried about this? This is of tremendous concern to a lot of people watching this morning about their jobs.
So there's certainly going to be winners and losers from this future, and there's certainly things we could do to try and mitigate that. But let's not be nostalgic Luddites and let those concerns stop us from
Don't worry about the
having
people at
technological
Mappins, the
advancements.
people who worked at Woolworths, the people who worked at British Home Stores. It was terrible for those people, what happened.
It is, but this is what happens, through the churn of the economy. Like this is a natural way for things to move. Like things are being offered better, more quickly, more efficiently, and if we try and stop that, all we'll do is have to buy the technology of the future from other nations who do embrace these changes.
Lisa.
I was just going to say, it's not all bad news. I think there might be less high streets, but there will be high streets. Last year, 5,800 shops closed, 4,300 opened. So there is a lot of sort of positive stuff going on the high street.
How long are going to last, those shops?
Well, a lot of them are going into areas, like beauty bars, bookshops are back on the rise, coffee shops are still on the rise. So it's not all bad news. There is a change, but there's not all bad news.
Can I bring this gentleman here who's been saying you contributed in our last debate. You said you've been around since, what, the 1920s, I think?
1920s, yes.
Can I ask how old you are? Can I be
I'm
impolite?
95.
95. Well, thank you for coming. We welcome you. Like yourself. Yeah. I bet you remember. You can remember England winning the World Cup. Never mind that.
I can remember the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I can remember a British football team giving a Nazi salute. And I never want to see that again.
Yeah, 1936. Yeah, that's right. But on the high, it was terrible. A chilling image there. What about the high street? You remember a very different high street.
I do remember I was born in Soho, so I do know about shops and things like that. And God forbid Piccadilly should close and we have lines up everywhere to phone in. You can't be coming to a store in a classy shop. Fortnum and Masons won't exist anymore. All these stores won't exist anymore. And so what do we do with the unemployed? Have another war.
What's your name, can I ask?
My name's Basil.
Can you come every week? Basil, it's interesting, isn't it? You must think the world's gone mad, eh?
It's absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea should have won the league this year.
I see. How long we got? I want to give you the last word, just as a matter of principle. We've got 30 seconds till the final shut up, they're telling me.
Nicky, can I
No, he's got the last word. Listen, I'm sorry, Alex. I just feel it should be bookended by that. Thank you. Thank you all very much indeed for taking part. Thank you to you, Sarah, as well. Thank you. continue online on Twitter. For now, it's goodbye from Uxbridge. Have a great Sunday. Thank you very much for watching. Next week, we've got a special on the liberal world order. Today, on The Big Questions, how our planet is run. Has the liberal world order outlived its usefulness?